are some new rules that the Department of State issued. They're not into effect yet. Is it effect? Yes. So it's proposed rules on the whole au pair program. Now, these rules have caused these rules have caused, not just caused, but there's been like so much tension between host families and au pairs, because these rules have, when I tell you, it's like there was an au pair sitting at this desk and wrote these rules. And the reason I'm saying it is because they fall high in au pair's favor versus host families. There are things that will benefit host families, but not a lot. And I feel like after years and years and years of au pairs speaking up, they're finally being heard. But the downside is some of the things are like, it's been overcorrected, you know. It's been like some of the rules I'm just like, okay, that's fair. And then some of them I'm like, ooh, you know. And the sucky thing is, it's still proposed, meaning that it still could change. They suggesting, and everyone could comment until the 29th of December, or till the end of December. I will put the link below of the full thing. Guys, hiccups got me. I'll put a link below of the full thing because it is long. Like, it's long. I read it and I even took some time because it came out about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks. By the time you guys watch this, I think it's gonna be like 3 to 4 weeks ago. I wanted to like read it properly and just, when I react to it, I want to give a genuine opinion honestly, but I also just wanted to sit and put myself in a host family shoes and an au pair shoes. Now, I have been in this program since 2016 and I have seen families take advantage of au pairs, and I have seen families that have been great to au pairs. I'm going to talk about some of the changes on here, but I highly recommend, whether you're a current au pair or a full au pair, to go read the full article. And if you have something to say, if you have an opinion, you still can comment until the end of December. One of the things that would change is the stipend. The stipend, obviously, it's like 1965, some change. I don't know, my family rounds stuff off and I get a bit more, so I haven't kept up with that. But it's like 195.75, and it's across the country besides Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken. And what they're saying is that you're going to earn minimum wage. There's going to be like different tiers and this whole thing, which means, oh my gosh, my hiccups literally started when I put the camera on, which means au pairs are going to be getting paid at different tiers depending on your hours. Now, what I want to say about the stipend, I did feel like au pairs should get like different stipends, and I did feel like au pairs should get more for the stipend. But this is how I felt. I feel like au pairs that are looking after, for example, 3 kids or 5 kids and work the full 45 hours versus au pairs that look after 1 kid or 2 kids and they both go to school, work 30 hours maximum. I always felt like that was unfair. I always felt like for example, I would work 30 hours maximum for 1 kid, grown, does his own breakfast, this whole thing. And then I have a friend who has 3 kids. The oldest is like 8 and below, and full 45 hours, but we earned the same, you know. And it always got to me where it was like, it created an envy because we earned the same amount of money, which in honesty, she was doing way more work. She was fulfilling way more of the hours. I do feel in that aspect, there should be like a calculated system, or a system that if you're working obviously more hours, or if you're working with more kids compared to au pairs that don't work with more kids, you should be getting more for what you're doing, you know. Because you see people with 4 to 6 kids still earning the stipend, and then you see people with 1 kid earning the stipend. It never made sense to me. And even in those situations where au pairs tried asking for raises or promotions, it's like, oh, but this is what you settled upon. Don't get me wrong, those people with 1 kid and 30 minutes and 30 hours a week still got the perks with it, and same with the au pair. So I feel like that has always been something where I'm like, how do we, because what was happening is au pairs were now resenting host families with a lot of kids, or or avoiding host families and a lot of kids, or getting frustrated because obviously the work is more, knowing very well that they could have got 1 or 2 or 3 kids. So I feel like, and obviously what I'm saying is everywhere, I feel like in that aspect they should come up with a situation where that doesn't happen. And then my other thing is, this is my thing, and I've been saying this for a while. Au pairs pay a lot of money for the agency. Host families pay a lot of money for the agency. However, the agencies get you here, and then the au pairs do the job. The au pairs deal with the tantrums. The au pairs deal with the flexibility. For example, the pandemic, like host families, their schedules all changed and kids were at home, and au pairs had to adjust and change. But I feel like bulk of the pay goes to the agency. I feel like there should be something where, I'm not saying agencies shouldn't get paid. I just feel like if agencies dropped their fee a bit and paid au pairs more, host families wouldn't feel the strain. So if agencies gave host families like a lesser fee, let's say for example you pay $10,000 a year. If agencies charged host families, for example, $6,000, I'm just making these numbers up, $6,000, and then au pairs paid what they paid, for example, but instead of giving $10,000, you pay $6,000 for host families. Now $6,000 for the agency fee. Now you have $4,000 to spend towards a stipend. It wouldn't feel like host families are paying. I don't know if it's making sense, but I feel like au pairs are paying, host families paying, and agencies are getting it, but the people who are meant to be receiving the end of it is not getting fulfilled. I'm not sure if this is making sense. So, and then another thing is, I feel like they need to do something, or they need to come up with something that makes it like a law or like a marketing or something where it's like false advertising, because au pairs get sold in their home countries that this is a cultural experience. You travel a lot, you do a little, they like saying a little childcare, and then to host families, they're like flexible childcare, there's childcare available, all these things. Some agencies, I've seen their pamphlets say 24-hour childcare. And so then what happens is host families come into it experiencing and expecting flexible childcare, 24-hour childcare, and then au pairs come into it expecting to travel a lot. And obviously if you've been in the program, you know both sides, there's a lie to it, or there's some truth that was stretched in a way. And so I feel like they should do that where they take accountability for stuff like that, because I've always said the middleman is the agency. They are the ones, before even matching people and talking to people, that are in charge of making sure these connections go well. And so as I'm saying, like, they should get their money's worth, but I just don't feel like host families should be paying a lot and au pairs. And then they come here and host families feel like they've been robbed, because I would feel like if I've been robbed, if I pay all this money and then I come to a country, I get the service and the service is not to the standard. I don't know if it's making sense. So that was something I noticed where I was like, kudos for the stipend. I just feel like they overcorrected it now. And I also feel like, in a way, which could be a good thing though, that the stipend part could weed out all the bad families, but even good families could leave because of the cost. I feel like if agencies could just lower their costs for host families would have more money to actually increase the stipend. That's just a thought I was feeling. But at the end of the day, it's still a job. Let's not, like, yes, it's cultural, it's this, it's that, but if you came home from work and your au pair was not performing, what would happen to them? They would be fired. So yes, it's a cultural thing. It's like, oh, we part of the family, but at the end of the day, when ish hits the fan, we still getting kicked out. We still, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, there has to be that legal side where it's like, yes, it's cultural, it's all those things, but there's still the side of, you still my boss and I'm still an employee. I don't care what you say, no matter how much you say we blood thick or whatever, let that blood thickened person not perform, and it will no longer be, oh, we family. It'll be like, okay, she's not doing her job, therefore she can't be here anymore. Next thing, the thing number 2, which I was like, I felt so bad for host families about this, is the 45 hours. So they want to change the 45 hours to 40 hours, which I get. When I was reading, I was like, that makes sense. Get to travel, get to experience more, get to see stuff and that whole thing. And I get it. I've worked 45 hours. I would root for 45 hours by far. But if you think of the whole program and you think of why families get au pairs, is because the flexibility and the fact that like 40, I feel like 40 hours is gonna limit some families. Oh, and they also wanted you to give a fixed schedule, which I'm on board with because I've had families change schedules the day before. However, at the same time, I am with families like my current host family. They will have like a fixed schedule, but there are weeks where my host dad has to go out of town. There are weeks where my host mom has emergency operations at the hospital. Therefore, they have to change the schedules. And so for those weeks, it makes it harder for host families because as much as they want to give a fixed schedule, there are going to be times where they're going to have to change it. My only thing with this is that the reason this is even coming up is because of host families who don't communicate. And that's the sucky thing here, is that with this specific part, I feel like the bad is outweighing the good. Because I don't feel like au pairs have a problem with working 45 hours if it's communicated, if it's considered. I've gone over 45 hours for my family because I know that when I need hours or when I need to take a break or and I haven't fulfilled my 45 hours, they don't care about the 45 hours. If they have the means and they have the access, like if my host dad's working from home and I feel like, hey, I want to go to a concert, but I have to be there by like 4:30 and I end at 6. My host dad's like, he's grown, he can chill, whatever. Or if the baby, like I've had host families with babies where they've been like, if he's taking a nap, I gotta leave and go buy what you want to buy. It's stuff like that where it's like, if you consider the au pair is gonna consider you. And so this part, I was like, it sucks because with the proposed rules, I'm not saying people must break the rules. I'm not saying that at all. This is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying with the 40, it's taking 5 hours away, and some families commute. Not every family is at home working from home. And so just with the 5 hours, just count the commuting, that's taken away. And I get, once again, au pairs are gonna stone me. I get having to chill, relax. It just sucks because there's been host families that have neglected to honor au pair's time. Therefore, this is why we're in this situation. Because the main problem with au pairs was the financial part of it, where it's like you're looking after 6 kids and somebody has 1 kid, and that was like the main thing. The 45 hours, yes, it's tiring, but au pairs, I won't speak for every au pair, but it wouldn't have been a problem if host families honored the au pair's time. And then if you don't need the au pair, let the au pair go explore. Like there would be host families that, because the au pair is not done with our 45 hours for the week, they would be like, you still have to work on a Saturday, and they just watching TV. It always bothered me. I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? You're shooting yourself in the foot, because there's gonna come a time where you're gonna need it. Like your 45 hours are over, but you're gonna just need the humanity in it to be like, hey, I'm feeling sick. I just need 2 hours for a nap. And even if you don't say it, your au pair is gonna see it and offer it to you. Versus like, because she's not done with her hours, you just want to sit in front of a TV and you want her to play in the basement with the kids or play around you with the kids. Or, like it sucks because in this situation, especially with the time thing, going from 45 hours to 40, host families are losing out. But it's the bad ones that just forget that au pairs are also human beings, and au pairs also want time. And if you get tired of your kid, for sure, this young adult is tired of my kids. And so you operate that way. You know what I'm saying? Like if families just operated that way, where they were like, and I'm not saying that they're not allowed to have breaks. Yes, host families also get tired. Take your break, go on date night, do your thing. But I'm just saying that some host families are so rigid about the 45 hours, even when they don't need all the 45 hours at times. And so it sucks because now you guys could possibly get 40 hours. It just sucks that it took so much correction for host families to take au pairs serious, because there are great host families out there. There are amazing host families, but I feel like it's the bad ones that have caused it to get to this point. If you're constantly hearing au pairs complain about these situations who are in bad families, of course they're bound to change, because the good ones don't really have anything to complain. Like I am not gonna write to the embassy or write to the agency complaining about my host family, because things are going great. Like they're treating me like a normal human being. They're on, you know what I'm saying? It's like the bad ones that have created this, and now it's being overcorrected and everyone is getting affected. I'm glad that au pairs' voices are being heard. That part, I am genuinely glad that finally. The next thing I noticed, or like I put down, is the educational the educational stipend has gone up, which I'm glad, because they give you 500, but the schools charge like 650, 750. So it's like, how am I meant to make the stipend work when one class, for example, not even one class, like for the credits, if you get 6 credits or 7 credits, it's like 650, 750, 800. And so I'm glad that they increased the stipend, because it helps. Because a lot of au pairs, and I've done this, because I've studied 1, 2, 3.5. I've gotten my credits like 3 or 4 times, and I think only once I didn't have to, twice, because I did the UCLA online and then I did this English class, whatever. Only twice I didn't have to go over budget, because they were exact and the credits were exact. But there are so many times where you au pairs have to go over, even for travel classes, you just have to go over your budget, because the 500 you get is not enough. The courses are like 650, 550, 750, 850, and you're like, but I got 500 only. So I'm glad that they got that as an increase. And then another thing, which when I was looking, it's been nearly 40 years, this is what the thing says, that au pairs even got a change in the J1 visa, which I think is ridiculous. I'm just excited overall that there's a move and the conversation has started. And I feel like this has gotten the good host families to stand up and be like, actually, wait. I just hope that this doesn't become a war between host families and au pairs, because the war is actually with agencies. That's all I say. But there are great agencies. I'm happy about my agency, by the way. So I'm glad. I like my agency. It was reasonable what I paid. But anyway, I think I'm excited that this created a conversation, because it's been for 40, like when I was looking through the thing, it says for nearly 40 years, some of these rules haven't changed. And I think it's just crazy that au pair agencies prices has increased in terms of like what host families pay, in terms of what au pairs pay, like what you actually pay to the agencies have been increasing, but nobody's been bothering to increase the stipend. Nobody's been bothering to increase like the actual the au pairs here, like when au pairs get here, nobody's bothered to check that side of it. Everyone checked the increase for what au pairs must pay agencies and what host families must pay agencies. And so it's good to get the conversation rolling, because I also see some families putting out really good suggestions, which I myself have never thought of, like, it's like you're getting to hear both sides. Whereas in the past, I feel like au pairs were just muted, like they were not heard. And so I'm excited for that. I wish they would bring back, and I don't know how many agencies do, bring back the hotel orientation for au pairs, but I wish they would do like an orientation for host families. And I think they said something about this, because I don't know where I got it from. But everyone in the household, meaning every adult that lives in that household, has to do like orientation, because au pairs do orientations when they come and live with families, like how to survive in America, how to do this, how to do that. And I feel like host families should also do an orientation with adjusting to a 18 to 26-year-old, like homesickness, like partying lifestyles, car rules, car crashes, how to have those conversations, how to initiate this conversation. What do you do if your au pair gets a boyfriend? What do you do if your au pair wants to stay behind? Like, I feel like they should do an orientation with that aspect for host families, because host families are just winging it, and some of them are treating you like you're a little kid, and that's where the clash comes in. And so I feel like that would be great if agencies could create an orientation aspect for host families too, and meaning like everyone, the mom, the dad, and if there's grandparents, should all be at that orientation. Whoever lives in the house and is going to live at with the au pair should do the orientation, because it also sets the tone for the match. Because I've also found where the mom is the one that's been getting the profile, speaking with the LLCs, doing everything, and then the au pair comes and the dad and the grandparents have no idea. They expect her to be the housekeeper, the chef, the driver, the this, the that. And if the host mom doesn't speak up, or if the au pair doesn't speak up, what happens is you have an au pair who's frustrated and doing way too much, because the other people are not aware of her rules and her requirements. She's not the help. And so I think that would be a great thing. Another thing I got here is they said you get sick leave, but you do get sick leave in a year. And if you're not sick, if you know you're going to be going to the doctor or you need to do something in terms of medical, you need to let them know 7 days before. But if it's like instant, you can take sick leave instantly. Now, the reason it blows my mind that they even have to put that in, because I know they spoke about sick leave at orientation or something like that, but host families don't give au pairs. Like, I was just watching a TikTok recently with this au pair whose voice was gone. Her voice was gone. She was like, she had a cold or she had whatever, and she was still working. Now, she physically could still work, but she was like, guys, I just want to go back to bed. And I was like, why would you let somebody that is tired like that, his voice is gone, you can hear she's sick, no stuffy, get up and still come to work? When it was just like, it's crazy. But it's because of those host families that we have to put these rules in place. It's not because of the good host families, it's because of the bad host families. Because if I was like dying like that, I would have been like, I'm calling in sick and I'm going to bed, and my host family would have come with soup for me, you know? So I think the sick leave thing is important, and I feel like we need to make sure au pairs know it, because you also live and work at the same place. It's hard for you to even call in sick in peace, because if you call in sick and you're like, I'm sick, and then you're walking downstairs, it's like, oh, but you're not sick enough to come get food, or you're not, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, there's so many things where host families have been like, oh, you seem fine, then pick the kids up. And it's like, no, she came for food because she's hungry, but she wants to go back to bed. And yes, you hear the TV on, but what must you do if you're sick? And so it's stuff like that where I feel like it's good that they're putting in a set rule. I'm sure, don't come for me, I stand to be corrected, but I'm sure there's rules about sick leave. Those are the things that stood out to me. I will put the link in the description. As I said, it's a long one. Take your time, read it, understand it. But I want to say that it's so good to see that au pairs' voices are being heard. It would suck if this program ends, because it's such a good program and I genuinely believe in it. You can make great memories. You can make great friends. Like, it's been so much fun hanging out with my host kid, hanging out with my host family, and that whole thing. And I would love more people to experience it. But I do believe that it needs to be refined. I do believe that there are people that need to be held accountable for their actions, because I feel like years after years after years, au pairs just come into it and get lost in the system and just get unhappy. Like, so many things happen that are just, that shouldn't have happened. And even though I feel like some of these laws shouldn't pass, I feel like there should be laws. There's definitely some that I want to pass, and I definitely feel like it's creating a conversation. And like, if you are a good family, just know that this is not targeted to the good host families. Like, when you look at this, this is targeted, this is an overcorrection, because there have been a lot of au pairs complaining about this. As I said, like, if you were a good family, your problems are different. I've had bad families and I've had good families. With good families, you're like, I'm homesick, I'm tired, like, I need to save money. You know, like, those, with bad host families, these are the problems you face. Like, these are the things, it's like you have to constantly remind them that, yo, I am not your kid. I am not here to slave away. I am not here. It's a cultural exchange. Like, I feel like the family aspect would only works with good families. That's my reaction to this whole new rule, well, new rule situation. I do hope that the best for both parties is the outcome, because it would suck if, let's say, host families lose in the aspect of like it comes to pass, or it sucks if au pairs lose, because one way or another, the response from this is going to tell au pairs that you either matter or you don't matter, and same with host families. But yeah, anyway, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know, did you guys read this article? What are your thoughts about it? How are you guys feeling? Because there's been a lot of tension around this. I just hope that au pairs are heard and seen, and I just hope that host families are heard and seen, and then I hope that the good host families speak up. I hope that the good host families speak up, not just for their household, but even the host pairs, the au pairs that are being treated this way, and that they see and understand why we even in this position in the first place. Because to them it makes no sense, and I get it, but there are au pairs who it makes absolute sense for, and this is needed, you know. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.